Welcome everyone. Well, as you can probably tell, we're on location again. This time we're at the Strand Theater in Hudson Falls, and we're going to do something a little different. We had the honor of interviewing Martin Barre, who is here with his band, and former Jethro Tull members Dee Palmer and none other than that great drummer Clive Bunker. And we're here, they invited us over to do an interview. Well, that interview turned into a lot more, as you're about to see. So we're pretty much going to dedicate the whole program to showing you what it was like to be around the Strand Theater during a rehearsal for the national tour, Martin Barre celebrating the 50th year Jethro Tull. Dropping because they absolutely know who this person is, and the rest of you are going, "Oh my God, could it be?" All right,
they're probably thinking he hasn't aged well at all, is he? But whatever.
You're about to see what kind of interview this is going to be. I need to set the stage a little bit. Let's go back to late 70s, 1980s. I happen to be in London producing a real kick-ass power punk band called Pez Band. A legendary studio, Maison Rouge. Now, Maison Rouge, by the way, just happened to be home base for this band that maybe some of you have heard of, a band called Jethro Tull. And yes, this is Martin Barre, who is the lead guitarist from Jethro Tull. Welcome, Martin.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Thank you.
And of course, you know my cohort in crime here. This is Jonathan Newell, musician extraordinaire.
Well, next to
We're going to have to take it easy next to him, though, right?
Okay.
And the reason I set it up that way, by the way, is that you would never remember this, but I'd pass you in the hallways and whatever. But we would record in the afternoon, and you guys would come in at night. So Robin Black, Tony Taverner, legendary engineers, would allow me to sneak in the back of the control room. So I would watch you rehearse, and I'd watch the three of you set up the baffles for your amps and all the other stuff, and your Marshalls and your Les Pauls and all that. And he is a signature guitarist, and John knows where I'm about to go with this. If you think of Hendrix, if you think of Jimmy Page, you're talking about Pete Townsend. You're talking about guitarists that own a sound, and that's what you are, Martin. You're a signature guitarist. You know, if you think of it, we could start listing the songs, right? You could list Hymn 43. You could list Aqualung. Every single one of the songs that we were about to list, it's Martin's signature sound is the thing that stays with us all these years afterward. You're also a remarkable player in regard to the way you can just almost seamlessly move through classical to jazz to blues. And I was watching you rehearse before this interview, and you were doing it, man.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you really were. All right, so now that I've set it up that way, Martin,
explain it.
Yeah, exactly right.
I don't know. I would say that the music that I've played over the years, the Jethro Tull music, is unique. There aren't a lot of people playing it, so I would sort of downgrade it to be a little polite and say that because I'm the only guy out there playing that music, the sound of that music and the sound of the guitar in that music will always be mine. Yes. So it's an easier option. If I was a blues guitar player doing 12-bar blues, you're one of a huge bunch of people playing the same generic style of guitar playing, so you're sort of doing similar licks. There's a lot of them out there. That's how I'm going to explain it. But I find it a little bit intimidating that that I have a sound, because to me I don't follow anything. You know, I've got a bunch of different guitars, and I just play, and whether the sound comes from there, I guess it comes from all those places. But I sort of think, you know, I have to do what I do, and if it sounds like me, great. If it doesn't, fine.
And we talked about it last year a little bit after your last show and your influences musically, and I thought that's why you were such the perfect fit for this kind of music, because you mentioned to me that you listen to a lot of classical violin, and violin players were some of your favorite types of music, and I thought, well, there it is. He's bringing that well-structured line, that great craftsmanship to a solo, that it has this great, feel like a great violin solo almost.
It's a difficult thing, because I don't want to sound pretentious, but I like the fluid playing that a violin produces. But you know, I listen to pianos or flutes or oboes or just orchestras in general have everything, have every ingredient in music that you need. Have dynamics, power, harmony, great beauty.
And the structure. I love the craftsmanship of the structure.
Yeah. So that's a great place to learn from, whatever you're doing.
Right. And I've been sitting out front listening to the rehearsal, and I keep thinking to myself, craftsmanship. It's just very well crafted.
It is. You know, if you're a musician, you know what we're about to talk about. The phrasing is really pretty remarkable, because there are notes that you don't expect. And I think it was Miles Davis that said it once. It's not what you play, it's what you don't play. So, you know, picking and choosing where you go and how you go there, and to listen to you do that and select these sort of phrases, it's pretty remarkable.
Yeah. Well, it's because that's how I want to listen to music. Yeah. And so if I hear a guitar player sort of noodling away, I really hate it. I just really hate it, because it has no light and shade, it has no loud and quiet, no dynamics, and I think music is all about dynamics. So I'm just applying the rules that I have as a music listener to the way I play, and so for me it's very natural. And space, a note has space around it, lots of space, but space, even if it's that much, because it needs to speak. You need to hear it. It's a basics of music, and I suppose traditionally rock guitar players don't follow those rules at all. They just, it's all about technique and impressing people. I never was one of those. I never wanted to be.
You know, I had, when you played here last year, and John and I were talking about this, you were doing, you know, you're going through a lot of Tull library. And people, of course, recognize the songs and they go crazy. And when they hear your signature guitar, it brings back so many memories. But at one point, there's quite a sense of humor too, Martin. At one point, you looked at the audience, you said, "Geez, I don't know what we're going to play. Maybe we'll just call this Blues in E."
Yeah.
And you started riffing blues.
It was
I'm telling you, this place went berserk.
I didn't lie.
I know.
Yeah, I'm just telling the truth, and the truth often has humour.
Yes, that's right.
But I love humour, and I don't say I have it, but I just see it every day, and a situation that most people might find sort of negative, I always see the funny side in it, or nearly always, because I think life is full of humour, and things that happen, go catastrophically wrong, can be hilariously funny. And you can go, something happens, and you can take it either way. You can either take it really seriously and it can upset you and it spoils your day, or you just say, you know what, that was hilarious, and it feeds you.
And then you move on. Now, we spoke at the last tour, and you were talking about putting this tour together.
Yeah.
And to celebrate 50 years of Aqualung, I think is what you had told me at the time. And that this band, Clive Bunker, a lot of us will recognize that name. Dee Palmer, recognize that name. A couple of girl singers. We got you got quite a band you put together for this tour.
Yeah, I mean the great thing is that the core of it is the Martin Barre band, and that's Darby, Danny, Alan, Dan, and myself. Right. And we've been playing gigs for quite a few years, but we've built up a really strong understanding musically between us. So everything else is you know, the cream on the cake. The girls are on the solo records, so we have a sort of history going back, and you know, we've got to know each other and work together lots of different times. So for them to be here is quite natural. You know, that they belong here, end of story, and they have their part to play in the show. And when thinking about the show a year ago, that's what I wanted to do. In fact, I told the girls quite dangerously over 12 months ago, said, yeah, we want to go to America. And of course, that's easy to say, but the visas and logistics and finance is a nightmare. So I didn't want to let them down. I don't like letting anybody down, and I get let down a lot. So I know what it's like. So it's a really important thing to commit to doing something and do it properly, and make sure everybody gets what makes them happy. So the girls totally belong here. Clive is such an important part of the history, and it's particularly in the USA. And Dee has been involved with nearly every Tull album since the beginning, so she's incredibly important musically, and bringing it's not easy to bring it all together, but the harder the more difficult the input, the output's going to be wonderful.
Love's a long song, but the tune is too soon for us all.
I spent some time watching rehearsal, and you know, you can tell that the core band, the Martin Barre band, you finish each other's sentences, and there's a joy on the stage when you're rehearsing. By the way, there is a sense of humor, if you want to use that word. There's a wonderful flow between it, but all of a sudden you'll play something, or when I was listening to Clive, he was doing a fill for Aqualung that he owns that. He owns it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
And then you hear it, and you think to yourself, oh my God, you know?
Well, that's the great thing about music. There's Hendrix had it. I can't even summon all these people, but they had characteristics about their playing that define them. So if somebody hummed you a Hendrix solo but didn't tell you who it was, you'd know straight away.
You would immediately
because
know.
it's such a unique entity. And I like that about music. I like the fact that, and we, you know, you're saying signature guitar playing. I don't see that, but I see it in other people, and the way they play, the way they perceive music, and how it translates live. It's a wonderful thing.
It is. You know, I was just thinking, if you take da-da-da-da-da-da, I mean, you know, I know that many of you out there, just like you fill in the gap. You know, that signature ability to be able to establish yourself in 5 notes. Do you know what I mean?
That's unusual, yes, because they're weird notes.
Yes, they are.
Nobody would play that because
That's right.
it's so weird.
Yeah.
They just go, oh no, that's not right. And then I'll turn it around and da 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 da. That's better.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it became a habit in Tull that, and it was a dangerous thing that you try to make things a little bit cleverer than they needed to be.
Oh,
So
that's a good point.
we sort of ended up with pieces of music that when you sit back and listen to them now, you just go, why did we do that? Why don't you just make it a nice melody? And but there you go. Maybe that's what prog music is.
Well, you know
and
what?
I'm not a believer in the expression personally, but maybe that explains what it is.
Well, you know what? So I was just about to go there because I was just going to say the ability to blend time signatures, the ability to pick the notes that you wouldn't ordinarily expect that someone would pick, and to make that seamless as you well know, is a very difficult thing to do. Yet some artists like Martin, like yourself, John, are able to do that. And all of a sudden, the audience, who doesn't really understand time signatures or modes or a lot of the progressions, understand that they like it.
And they can stay with you.
Yes,
I think
exactly
the great
right.
thing is when you're listening, it makes sense as you're listening. You know, sometimes you walk away and you think, what did I just listen to? Or what but with this music, you come away, you recognize that, again, that craftsmanship, and that's what we so appreciate about it.
Yeah, no
I think
kidding.
it's important that if music is complex, it should sound easy.
Yes,
and,
great point.
and that's the way to make it subtle and to make it listenable, really. But yeah, it's mathematics, and that's how the music got in Tulip. It just became like a maths lesson where you're stringing 13 8-bars to 7/4 and then going into 6/8. But it just became, everybody's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2. They count, and it's a danger because you lose the passion of music and the emotion because you're so tied into the meter of
The
it.
meter, sure. Well, the meters that we're accustomed to are 4/4 and 3/4, and to make something like 7/4 feel comfortable takes a bit of an effort. But it's it goes beyond just a technical ability to be able to play in 7/4. Yeah, it has to flow. It has to have a rhythm to it. Right.
It still has to feel good,
Yes, right.
but it frees you to be out of that 4/4 and 3/4. It's a freeing experience to be able to follow 7 comfortably, or to follow a chord change that goes someplace you didn't expect. But to recognize and feel it is great.
How many cities on the tour, Martin? Don't know. Okay.
30.
Oh, wow. It's a big commitment.
I don't know because the schedule's so crazy. I don't even know where the next gig is, although I did an interview for it this morning
Oh, you did.
from the radio station. I can't remember where they were.
Well, we're honored to have you here.
I've got no idea.
Do you know what I mean?
I do, yeah.
Do you want to grab this?
Well, we started to do this for community development, to try to bring the economy back to the village through the arts. And what a place to take it to. I mean, where do we go from here? It's all downhill after this because we just peaked with Martin Barre. But no, we're so grateful.
Sure you won't.
No. We're so grateful, and
Well,
this has been
vice versa.
well, and a great volunteer effort to get it to this place. We've done some painting, a lot of new seats up there, and great things going on for the theater itself.
Martin, I can tell you first, they cleaned up for you.
Yes.
They did.
They're amazing, but yeah, they are. But we know it and we appreciate it because they've been incredibly nice to us.
Oh, yeah.
And but I like it,
Yeah.
and I hope that we're the same. That nobody needs to be a bad person or a difficult person or an egotistical person because you're doing a job.
Yeah, that's
And
antithetical
you-
to everything that
you're
you
dealing
would
with other
think a
people.
musician would be about anyway.
Right, and it's great to think that that's your job, is to be nice to everybody. I mean, that's a nice thing
Well,
to
it's
think
not
about.
a job. It's just
Right.
why would you
Right.
be nasty? I mean, what's the point? There's enough people that have that. Life should be easy, and you can make it easy. You can make it difficult. Take your choice.
Well, I can tell you firsthand, the joy comes through in your playing, comes through in the communication with the other musicians on stage, and we're the beneficiaries of all of that because
Yeah,
we get
cool.
to sit in the audience and hear. So thank you very much for taking the time to
very
come in and
welcome.
talk to us. And I really, if you have the opportunity to see the Martin Barre Band or pick up any of the CDs, anything, we didn't even get into some of the instrumental things like Away with Words and whatever. We're going to have to save that for another
Yeah.
interview. But the scope of what this person is able to do and play, it's mind-boggling. So thank you, Martin. Great to see you again.
Wow, you've made me really big-headed.
Yeah,
I didn't realise I was that amazing.
You handled it well.
Yes.
You handled a great
Oh,
job.
Great to see
Great
you.
to see you
Thank
as
you for coming.
always. Okay, I got to end this at some point, so why not right now?
Such a nice guy. I gotta say, we've been married over 40 years, so, I can't remember not being Mrs. Martin Barre, to be honest. Yeah, he's wonderful. It's great. Lovely.
So, we just finished interviewing Martin.
Yeah.
That was pretty amazing, wasn't
It
it?
was really amazing.
I know.
And surprising.
Yeah.
It came together quickly. And he's so gracious about things too. and let's just sit and talk about music, which is what you and I do all the time.
I know.
But to have him in on the conversation, what a treat.
Well, you're thinking to yourself, okay, it's one thing if you and I talk. I always feel honored to talk to you because of your level of musicianship. And then we got Martin Barre. So now it's a level playing field.
Well, and I loved it that we weren't talking about like what do you eat on the tour or what color. What's your favorite color? I mean, we went right to music, and he went deep with us. That was
he
great.
did. You know, one of the things that he said that was just so remarkable about having this sort of sense of humor about life and how that gives him a positive aspect when he plays his music, right?
Yeah,
I know.
yeah, and you feel that, you see that.
Oh man, you
on
hear
stage.
it. That's exactly.
And you can hear it right now.
You know, I say this to you all the time, but it's really true. To walk in here and see the energy and see how positive everybody feels about trying to pull something. It's Field of Dreams, John.
It really is.
You know, and you're doing it.
Well, and these guys are all part of it. Martin Barre, Albert Lee coming back, Tim Reynolds is supposed to be coming in the fall. It's really exciting stuff. And it's a dream. I mean, I still can't believe it's happening half the time. And everybody said, don't do it in Hudson Falls. Why would anybody go to Hudson Falls?
Yeah, that's right.
But it's because of that energy that you mentioned. It's this whole reawakening of the arts scene in this area and this beautiful building. It's all done by volunteers. It's really an incredible story.
They're doing a version of Locomotive Breath that will really shock everybody.
Yeah,
Right.
surprising.
It's just
right?
it's just so incredible.
Martin on mandolin, right, and acoustic guitar, female vocals,
Female vocals, right?
Deep Hammer playing keys. It adds
Clyde
so
Bunker
much to
playing
it.
drums.
That feel that we all fell in love with in the 70s, early 70s.
Right. You can't come over the Strand and not recognize the person that I'm with. This is Mary Ellen. Hello, Mary.
Hi, Jesse.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Mary is always behind the box office, always making sure that anybody that comes over here is so well taken care of. And it's not an easy job, by the way, and I know it's not an easy job.
It's fun.
I know.
It's awesome. I mean,
So can I ask you one question?
Yeah, sure.
Martin Barre is here.
Yep.
Just tell me how it feels.
you know, this is the most incredible experience, really.
Yeah.
This particular show. They're the nicest people ever. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable to see how far this has come. And I love watching Jonathan's dream come true. It's amazing.